South Park mocks everything, and you better believe that religion is a part of that everything. So just about every belief you could have has been the butt of the joke, so why not start things off with the Mormons? And although they may not have been the biggest or most vocal religious group, they are, without a doubt, the writer's favorite group to rib on.
Alright kids, now how about we do some scripture readings from the Book of Mormon? Alright!
I mean, Matt and Trey wrote a whole musical about the religion. That's a whole nother level of mocking, albeit with some love. The episode starts with a new student joining the gang at South Park Elementary, and the boys act like elementary age boys do by beating up the new kid to let him know he's new and weird.
Kick his ass, Stan. Yeah, go kick his ass. Well, maybe he won't fight. Will he bleed? That's all we care about.
Oh, I miss the innocence of playground politics. So clear cut. Stan is ready to rumble, but is surprised to find the new kid is kind and understanding. One thing leads to another, and Stan gets invited to his house for dinner. After an incredible night filled with fun and wholesome activities, the family breaks down their faith to Stan. And while subtle hasn't always been Matt and Trey's strong suit, the little recap of Mormonism tells us loudly what the writers think of it.
Called a prophet, dum 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 dum. He started the Mormon religion, dum 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 dum.
Like many Gen Zers, this was my introduction to Mormonism, and a good one at that. Maybe? And the gentle knocking aside, the South Park guys kind of do a good job as they summarize the very thick and dense Mormon origin story. Basically, Mormons believe Jesus came to America, this guy Joseph Smith met God in the woods, and God dropped a ton of new lore on him.
Jesus lived here in America?
Duh. How else do you explain the miracle of Diet Mountain Dew? With the knowledge of the lost tribe stewing in his brain, Stan asks his parents why he was never told about Joseph Smith, or why his family never have fun, wholesome family times together.
I mean, how come we never have a night where we don't watch any TV and we just do stuff together and eat and drink?
We have that, Stan. It's called Friday Night Keg.
Randy is determined to teach the people poisoning his little boy's mind a lesson, but that goes about as well as his son's attempt, as Randy quickly finds himself wooed by the Mormon family and their wise Utahian morals and quality of life.
To each his own, right? Yeah. You know, to be honest, I've never known any Mormons. I don't even know what you people believe.
Randy is as interested in Mormonism as, well, almost as much as Matt and Trey. The rest of the Mormon story is told, Joseph Smith finding the supposed last testament of Jesus, or the Book of Mormon, with one caveat: no one else can see it.
He found the stones and golden plates, dum 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 dum. Even though nobody else ever saw them, dum 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 dum.
Leave it to Matt and Trey to make a beat desecrating a whole religion in such an aesthetic. This logic is enough to woo Randy and apparently everyone else in the state of Utah, with Randy proudly converting his entire family to Mormonism. And if you're Sharon, you gotta be wondering when the sister wife offer is coming in. Meanwhile, at the school, Gary and Stan are closer than ever.
Look at them. Aren't they so cute together?
Hey, my family's on their way over to the fire station to donate blood. You want to come along?
The power of kindness does the opposite of compel to Eric Cartman. But genuine kindness is something that Stan simply cannot adjust to, which is unfortunate because his family seems to love the lifestyle, with the Marches inviting the Mormons over for dinner.
Hey, Stan, don't denounce our religion.
I don't want to be Mormon, Dad. Me neither.
Randy falling for anything? No, say it ain't so. The episode ends with Stan blowing up at how nice the Mormons are, terminating the family's friendship, and ultimately leading to Gary confronting Stan with a heartfelt message that really feels like a message from all Mormons to the rest of the world.
All I ever did was try to be your friend, Stan. But you're so high and mighty you couldn't look past my religion and just be my friend back. You got a lot of growing up to do, buddy. Suck my balls.
And that's for everyone who's been offended by South Park. Thank those Mormons for being brave enough to say it. But the wholly and unfairly targeted don't always get the final say in how South Park jokes on them. And sometimes, not even the literal Judeo-Christian God himself is saved from a South Park spotlight, as Season 3 Episode 16's Are You There, God? It's Me, Jesus shows.
Whoa, what is that?
It's Dad.
The episode starts out with the gang getting ready for a New Year's adventure with Cartman, kicking off with his monthly visit from Mrs. Flo.
Today, I got my period. You got your what? My period, you get?
So that explains the cheesy doodle cravings, right? And believe it or not, Cartman isn't lying or just reporting the details of a bad Chipotle visit. Rather, this time he's just misinformed. It's not his period, rather just a harmless bacteria going around that makes you bleed out your butt. Normal health stuff. But with the new year around the corner, the media attention goes somewhere holier.
Because as we all know, if Jesus comes out of his house and is not scared by his shadow, it means the next 1,000 years will be full of peace and love.
Violently angry and at their wits' end with the concept of peace and love, the mob demands Jesus gives them something for the new millennium, that thing being an appearance from God himself. As for the boys, however, they're all still determined to be like Cartman, with Kenny succeeding in getting more in touch with their blossoming femininity.
Maximum stoppage of vaginal chunks. Ooh, this one's got wings, you guys. You did it.
You know, if guys could get periods, this is exactly how they would handle it. By using it for bragging rights and trying to one-up each other somehow. Naturally, with how manly and cool Cartman and Kenny are with their periods, Stan and Kyle feel insecure that they haven't gotten their first bleed yet.
All the guys are getting their periods, and I don't think I am. I can't be the last one to get it. I just can't.
I hope for Ike's sake he doesn't understand the words Kyle is saying. Listening to those wise words, Kyle realizes he can just lie about getting his period to fit in, which makes Stan feel left out, forming cliques so fast. Maybe the boys really have been female all along. Meanwhile, Christ is desperate to live up to the hype the new millennium is putting on him, and after God refuses to come down and visit like the crowd wanted, Jesus gets the next best guy.
Rod Stewart to agree to play a comeback concert at the Rio Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, and you're all going!
Went people in the year 1999. Very easy to please, apparently. Stan, insecure and left out of Cartman's goddess club, goes to Chef to figure out his complicated feelings on his lack of period. Chef, knowing women as well as he does, sets things straight for him.
Look, Stan, do you really know what a period is?
Yeah, Cartman told us.
Stan, let me sing you a little song about the menstrual cycle. I think it might clear things up for you.
Of course Chef can make a song about period blood so dang smooth. And it connects with Stan, who chooses to live life to the fullest and assert himself by going to Dr. Mephisto's and giving himself a few doses of hormones. Oh boy, Stan is on that hymn subscription, isn't he? And it shows right away. His voice drops, his beard grows, rages out at all the guys for still not accepting him into their club, which may be a blessing as Kenny's period, kills him.
Well, we found a tampon stuck up your child's ass. Apparently, he'd had it up there for several days. It plugged him up until he finally burst from the inside out like a ruptured septic tank.
The old Toledo corkscrew. Devastating maneuver indeed. Back with Jesus, Rod Stewart is in less than ideal shape, but the Vegas show is a giant hit with everyone, even the guys showing up to celebrate the return of the king of pop, Rod Stewart. Still more stage presence and aura than modern-day Travis Scott. But yeah, Rod isn't enough to live up to the hype Jesus brought on himself, and the crowd begins demanding an appearance from God, which they do not get, as Christ explains.
God can't just answer every prayer and suddenly give you everything you want. That takes all the living out of life.
And that's really the lesson of the episode. Sometimes the joy of life is the struggle and all that comes with it, and sometimes you don't get what you want. Not in this case, though, because God does come through, but he doesn't look as expected.
Be ye not afraid. Blessed art thou, my children.
That's God?
Yep, there's your Omega and your Alpha, your lessons learned in classic South Park fashion, with God fixing the boys' period understanding and kicking off the millennium right. No matter what religion you believe in, that being the depiction of God has got to be offensive on all circles. But if you think South Park was going to rib on Christianity just once, somebody don't know about South Park, because Season 4, Episodes 9's Do the Handicapped Go to Hell poses some interesting questions to every churchgoer watching.
Oh man, we can't let Timmy go to hell. We have to do something.
Jimmy can rot, though, apparently. The episode begins with the boys in church, distracted and bored, like, well, boys in church. That is until Father Maxie grabs their attention with some existential threats. Father Maxie introduces the concept of hell to the children, a terrible place where only bad things happen, and suffering, and mayhem, and no God. In the South Park world, however, the reality is a bit different.
We're going to the hooky lop, the hooky lop. Everybody.
Yeah, the vibes of hell are less eternal damnation and more Kai Cenat stream.
Are we friends? Oh.
With every celeb that died before 1998 chilling in hell with Satan himself, who, yes, is big and red and evil, but also very sensitive and gay, and in a love triangle with Saddam Hussein.
Dad, I killed you.
Yeah, you killed me. So, where was I gonna go? Detroit?
That's good enough for Eminem, and, moving on. Saddam, the fighter he is, does not take no for an answer and begs the Prince of Darkness for another chance at love. He's Satan, not the U.S. government. Saddam, you gotta try harder than that. Back in the real world, the boys are horrified over the concept of hell and a little confused over the concept of First Communion.
The priest will give you this round cracker, and he will say, the body of Christ.
Jesus was made of crackers?
Actually, scientists nowadays think Jesus was Middle Eastern, Cartman. Scared of damnation, the boys agree to go through all the rites, including that Catholic guilt, creating first confession. And if anyone's got sins, it's these 4 altar boys.
And then there was the time we held that little first grader down and farted on him for 28 minutes. Right, I already got that one.
Yeah, whatever father's gotta listen to this stuff is in for a doozy. However, not all the boys in South Park are afforded the gift of guilt, as the gang is quick to realize not everyone can confess, with the biggest offender being Timmy, who unless his name is a sin, cannot confess.
Well, what about the handicapped kid, Timmy?
Timmy!
What we do to Timmy? No, I mean poor Timmy's gonna go to hell. He can't confess his sins because all he can say is his name.
South Park out here asking the tough questions. Is hell handicap accessible? And is Eric Cartman capable of being forgiven in the eyes of the Holy Spirit?
I took a sandwich that the priest was eating, took the piece of ham out of it, put it between my butt cheeks, and then put the sandwich back and watched him eat it.
I see.
Cartman really does respect nothing, and he pays for it as Father Maxie violently beats Cartman, who is scared, into sacred submission. And that fear spreads to Kyle, who informs his family he's afraid of them going to hell.
Alex, us Jews don't believe in hell.
We don't? But what if we're wrong?
Kyle Broflovsky, the person who asks what we're all thinking. Horrified at the concept of hell, Kyle kidnaps his sinful little brother to ensure he can at least be saved. Back in hell, Satan is torn between his bad boy ex Saddam and his kind, caring boyfriend Chris, who's determined to cool the devious love triangle between him, Satan, and Saddam.
I know that you and Satan had a relationship, and I just want you to know that I'm totally okay with you guys staying friends.
I know the gag is that hell isn't as bad as you'd think, but being reduced to expressing those words would be hell for most men I know. Gay and involving the devil or not, that's a nightmare zone. And the nightmare does not end on Earth, as Father Maxie informs Kyle that, yes, your Jewish self is going to hell. So in a manic rage, the gang quickly moves to baptize Kyle and Ike, confess all their sins again, and do whatever they can to not die unclean.
Oh my God! They killed Kenny! He had sins that he didn't confess, and he never took communion.
Like Kenny, who has died so many times he could probably just ask God himself if handicapped and Jewish people go to heaven. And, well, after finding Father Maxine an unholy, actually a very holy position, Cartman takes the duty of faith upon himself.
It will be a long road, but at the end of that road is salvation, and I am going to lead you there.
With the blessing of God and the fury of all his little followers, Season 4, Episode 10's Probably starts off right where the last one left off, with Eric playing pastor and causing quite a revival doing so.
Whoopie kids, it's time to stop preaching damnation to everyone, sweetie.
Don't you guys, persecute our religious beliefs.
Dang, where were the level-headed women like Miss Cartman when I was getting berated in Sunday school for playing on my Game Boy? Of course, Cartman finds a way to overcome most level-headed people, and this time it's no different as Cartman moves fast to start his own church, which is funny, because the hell is Cartman so afraid of? Well, I wouldn't say it's fun, but for a certain kind of person, it's not all bad.
Chris is a great person. He's the one I want to be with now.
Really? So then, what are you doing here?
It's nice knowing in the end there's a place for side chicks and sneaky links, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Back on Earth, it's revealed that Kenny for once didn't die and was simply stuck to the bottom of the bus for a few thousand miles, while Cartman and the rest of the gang moved to create their own church.
Hey, ask him what hell is like. Kenny, you have to tell us about hell. Give us every last horrible detail.
And the worst part, not a Buffalo Wild Wings in sight. Cartman, of course, hearing what he wants to hear, gleefully shares Kenny's report of hell with his congregation.
He said there is water in hell, but if you drink it, you pee blood out your ass for 7 hours. No!
Oh, sick. They have Applebee's endless margaritas in hell? I don't drink. But in all seriousness here, Cartman isn't really even being racist. He genuinely thinks he spoke to Kenny in hell, and his sermons really connects with the youth.
We've got Jews and perverts and bullies and all kinds of sinners in this town, Sister Ann. And without the priest, we've decided to save ourselves. The only ones that kids can trust now are me and Jesus.
Reap what you sow. Practice what you preach, Sister Ann. You created a holy monster. Back in hell, Saddam and Chris get some one-on-one time to express their differences.
You know why I don't like you, Chris? Because you're the kind of guy who, if someone didn't like him, he'd take him for a walk in the park and ask him why. You're a pussy.
Gotta give it to Saddam. He always told it like it was, as much as it hurt to hear. If you're Chris or Kuwait, on Earth, things are slightly more peaceful, as Pastor Eric performs miracles on sinners, holy rollers, and everyone in between.
Walk, Timmy! He walks! Whoa!
If Eric can do that for Timmy, we gotta get Dave Blunt on a plane to Colorado ASAP. Anywho, Cartman's really taken to the whole crazy dancing pastor guy, shucking and jiving and slapping anyone who will come up and let him. But it's Satan, not Cartman, who genuinely needs God's help. For what? Boy drama.
Hi, God.
Hello, Satan.
God solves the devil's problems, telling him he's grown too accustomed to long-term dating and he needs some time to figure himself out.
I forgot how clear you make things sometimes.
It was nice to see you again, Satan.
You too.
Goodbye.
If only God could figure out a way to offer his advice and preaches to all of mankind. He should write a book or something, man. While Satan had a genuine problem he was genuinely worried about, we can't say that Eric's reasons for finding God were quite as pure, as his church quickly becomes for his profit.
What? You're keeping that money yourself? Of course, you guys! And then we can make $10 million!
Money, the root of all revivals, and love. Meanwhile, Chris and Saddam fight in hell over Satan, who wants nothing to do with either of them. But good on the devil for advocating for himself, and I never thought I'd say that.
You're gonna send me to hell?
No, worse.
Good luck making your offshoot of Christianity profitable in Mexico, Carbon. Spoiler alert, over there, if it ain't Catholic, it ain't selling. Good luck also trying to find this episode on streaming. Season 3, Episode 5, Super Best Friends. Go ahead, look it up on Hulu or Max or whatever you're using. Yeah, you're not seeing it, huh? Well, you'll learn that's for a very good reason.
Doesn't matter, man. Blaintology is for everyone. There are Blaintologists who are Catholics, Buddhists, why even Kyle here is a goddamn Jew. That's right!
Yeah, so this episode kicks off with the boys getting wooed by the divine magic of David Blaine, and apparently they aren't alone, as an entire sect of Blaine worshippers have hit South Park, sharing the ways of street magic and gentle masculine wonder.
David Blaine is much more than a magician. He's a scholar, a visionary, a leader.
David Blaine stands. The 90s were a weird time, and the David Blaine cult is even weirder as they promise to reveal the boys' true selves, whatever that could mean.
Prepare to be cleansed and release the magic inside you.
I am prepared.
Butters is already pretty magical. I'm not sure how much more he needs before it gets scary. Cropping Butters' top and, well, the rest of the boys too quickly raises alarms. And the guys decide to try and leave the Blaineologists' headquarters, but like their leader, they make getting out small areas quite a feat.
Come on, Kyle, this is stupid. It's not stupid, Stan. For once in my life, I feel like I'm part of something. A part of what? Some gay-wad magician's crazy life plan?
Stan, be careful, Stan. It could be worse. All right, this could be a Chris Angel cult. With Stan out of the picture, the rest of the gang quickly begins recruiting new members to their cult, spreading the wonders of Blaine and the miraculous nature of his existence to anyone who will listen.
And if you look here, you can see how David Blaine performed the miracle of being frozen in ice at Times Square. Ma'am, have you ever wondered what David Blaine's plan is for you?
No, not really.
I feel like they could have had me sold with the frozen in ice line. Stan, determined to snap his friend to the David Blaine spell, turns to the only person more respected for his miracles than Blaine. One issue, this guy's a little rusty.
That trick sucks, Jesus.
Oh, I guess it worked a little better on people 2,000 years ago.
Hey, you'd be surprised, Jesus. You kind of never went out of style. But when the two go spell for spell and illusion for illusion, it's pretty clear who the new top dog is. The David Blaine eviscerating the good Lord and using the chance to prop up himself as any good self-promoter should.
The old religions have failed you. What have they offered except for war, poverty, and sadness?
Well, for one, they gave South Park plenty of good stuff to rib on, but really, if that didn't tip you off to Blaine being after more than just eyes on his product, his actions after being denied tax-exempt status will.
Mr. Blaine has said that by killing ourselves in Washington, we are guaranteed everlasting happiness in the afterlife.
Yeah, they're always saying that about places, aren't they? With the stakes now heightened, Stan enlists the help of Jesus and of the super best friends, which is like if the Avengers were made up of religious prophets.
So you mean to tell me that even though people fight and argue over different religions, you guys are all actually friends?
More than friends, young boy. We are super best friends.
And yeah, if you've never seen this episode, there's why. Comedy Central doesn't want to depict Muhammad, even though this episode was not controversial after the time and was only pulled after threats were made about a different episode years later. Yeah, they pulled it anyway. I mean, you're watching it now, so it's a moot point, huh?
If the government will not give us tax-exempt status, then we must prove that we are willing to die for our beliefs, twat.
With Washington, D.C. starting to look like Jonestown thanks to the world's greatest street magician, it's time for these super best friends to step in and save the day, as they have so many countless times before.
Yes, but this time, I've brought some help. Super best friends! Oh, Buddha! Joseph Smith! That's it! See, man!
A showdown commences with David Blaine possessing a giant Abe Lincoln, which the super best friends accordingly counter with a giant John Wilkes Booth. David Blaine is banished away, and a lesson is learned.
You see, all religions have something valuable to teach, but just like the super best friends learned, it requires a little bit of them all.
Yeah, war and suffering requires all the religious fighting. Good point. But as one would expect, those lessons are hardly retained. And that's thanks to the actions of that little devil named Cartman.
Mr. Cartman, congratulations. The theme park is yours.
Gentlemen, I thank you.
The episode starts off with the Cartman family funeral as Cartman's grandma has gone up to the pearly Mormon gates of South Park heaven, but not before leaving her favorite little chunker Eric a little something.
$1 million?
Eric is the primary benefactor of my estate, since it is likely the rest of you would spend the money on crack.
Most normal American family. Grandma, the deadest, is the wisest among them. And giving Eric Cartman $1 million. That's like giving King Kong a 34-foot banana, and as you can imagine, the power skyrockets to Cartman's head as he's already got plans for the money. And just knowing Cartman has that money breaks Kyle.
No, this isn't possible. Yeah, it's unbelievable. No, I mean, this isn't possible, Stan. Cartman is the biggest asshole in the world. How is it that God gives him $1 million?
Okay, Kyle, you have so much to learn about the type of people who run the world. They're greedy, self-centered, selfish, so naturally Cartman decides to spend his money by benefiting himself. How? By purchasing an amusement park to keep people out.
So you see, this park is for me. Nobody else will be allowed in.
Oh, well, then I guess I don't feel bad.
And while depriving the community of roller coasters and water slides doesn't really bother Cartman, it really bothers Kyle, who's having an existential crisis over Cartman's stroke of luck and his own, bumpy road.
I have a hemorrhoid, and Cartman has his own theme park.
And while that is a most grim reality, Stan reassures Kyle that one day Eric will get his comeuppance. But that day is not today, as Cartman has so much fun as you'd expect a 10-year-old to have at an amusement park by himself.
It's the greatest amusement park in the Colorado area, and nobody can go, especially Stan and Kyle.
But if anyone should know being told not to do something just makes you want to do it, it's Cartman. So it comes as no surprise when Kyle and Stan attempt to break in, forcing Cartman to hire a security guard to keep people out. Except for the two people needed to pay the new security salaries.
All right, goddammit. I'll open the park to 2 people each day. But remember, anybody else you see trespassing in the park,
I will shoot on sight.
Sweet.
Cartman, always an industry innovator. And of course, as things get better for Cartman, it only gets worse for Kyle, whose hemorrhoid is now infected, leaving him bedridden, giving him a lot of time to rethink his moral compass and faith.
You see, if someone like Cartman can get $1 million in his own theme park, then there is no God. There's no God, dude.
Attempting to restore Kyle's faith, his parents read him a Bible story, the story of Job, a man who puts all of his faith proudly in God and had a big family and lots of riches to show for it, until God and basically Satan make a little bet.
I'll show you, Satan. I'll take those things away from Job and he will still praise my name.
And so, God had a bunch of barbarians come in and slaughter Job's ox and donkeys and murder all his workers.
And sure enough, despite all this, things get worse for Job, but he still keeps the faith. We're not going to get into the whole point of the story here because Kyle takes something away from it, and I doubt it's what was meant to be taken from it.
Job has all his children killed, and Michael Bay gets to keep making movies. There isn't a God.
Hey, Michael Bay stopped making movies. See, you just gotta keep the faith. Back at the park, Cartman is forced to hire a maintenance guy and some concession people to boot, meaning he's gotta open up his park to a whopping 8 people a day to afford their paychecks. But if you know, how the world works, the more people, the more expenses, and suddenly, things get out of hand for Cartman.
816 people can come into the park today.
Only Cartman could organically stumble upon the concept of venture capitalism, with Cartman Land becoming a sensation for both the park and the allure of visiting a place you aren't allowed at. As it turns out, it's too much for Eric, who sells the park back and then gets all his money taken away by the IRS. Classic. Getting the news that Cartman is suffering seemingly brings Kyle back to life after a long month of suffering at the expense of Eric's joy.
God damn it, this sucks!
Wait a minute. Yes, the hemorrhoid is going into remission.
So yeah, the episode actually ends in a way that's kind to religion. Don't lose faith. Eventually, people will get what they deserve. In Season 7, Episode 9's Christian Rock Hard teaches us that very same lesson, with a little bit of rock and roll crossover.
Need you in my life, Jesus. I can't live without you.
Things kick off with the guys rocking out as Moop, but without a good sound, things look grim. That is until a Halo-esque light bulb pops off in Cartman's head. What better way to inspire than Christ?
Inspiration, you guys. Don't you see? See what? Our band should play Christian rock.
And thus, the greatest band of all time, Evanescence, was born. But seriously, Cartman isn't doing this out of a love for Christ or anything, or spreading the gospel. He's doing it because he sees Christians as dupes who he can make money off of. Cartman and Kyle disagree, with Cartman betting he can get a platinum album before Kyle does.
Boy, you sure seem driven, Eric. You must really have some inspiration. Yes, the tears of Kyle Braslavsky when he loses his $10 to me.
People say money runs the world, but really, pettiness does. And that pettiness drives Cartman to instant success, while Kyle, Stan, and Kenny are busy downloading music and alerting the feds to it.
Wow! Downloading music for free is awesome! What the hell is that? I don't know, let me check.
See, kids, back in the day, what you did on the internet mattered. Remixing a track would end with you in jail. Meanwhile, Cartman, Token, and Butters are hard at work finding inspiration and honing in on their sound, if you could even call it that.
I can't live without you, Jesus. And I just want to feel you deep inside me, Jesus.
Alright, this went from VeggieTales to Lady Gaga real fast. And that's pretty much Cartman's bread and butter, as he quickly puts an album full of Cartman Christian classics together, shoots an album cover, and makes his rock band. Faith Plus One a reality.
This Christian album better make as much money as you said it would, Tubby.
I'm going to kill you one day, Token.
With Kyle's band move striking in support of musicians affected by the free downloading of music off the internet, Cartman is more than enthralled to tell them that his band will be performing at Christ Fest, sort of a Coachella for Baptist dads.
Yeah, you don't even know anything about Christianity. I know enough to exploit it. Just get that $10 ready, cow. Ta-ta.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is how most people are about things. They just don't say it out loud. But luckily, Cartman at least has some talent to offer as Christ Plus One takes the stage at Christ Fest to a holy ruckus after established group Santa Feist gets stuck in the pews of faith. And boy, does Cartman kill it.
Oh, I wanna believe it's alright, but I get lonely in the night, and it's up to you to save me, Jesus, baby.
Who would have thought the most manipulative boy of all time would be right at home as a Christian rock artist? Cartman absolutely gets what he was after, as the record execs buy his bullcrap, hook, line, and sinker, singing Cartman to a record deal and releasing his debut album, which, stylistic, certainly has its own flair.
Whenever I see Jesus up on that cross, I can't help but think that he looks kinda hot.
This album is not available in stores and limited quantities are available, so order now.
I remember trying to order this back in the day. Still kind of upset we never got a vinyl release, but it is what it is. While Faith Plus One is busy revolutionizing the world of Christian entertainment, Kyle and Moop are busy fighting the good fight, with celebs like Metallica and Britney Spears joining in their fight, but all that celebrity swag is nothing as Cartman sells 1 million copies of his record.
He beat us. Because all this time we've been so caught up with how to protect our music that we forgot to just play.
A lesson that was very valuable during a time when musicians made money and not just made streaming services money. But the music and fame comes second, as Cartman really just wants to beat Kyle. Bringing out all the bells and whistles for the platinum album ceremony, Cartman comes crashing down like Icarus when he finds out that Christian albums don't go platinum, they go myrrh.
I can never win my bet because you stupid assholes don't give out platinum albums.
But you spread the word of the Lord. You brought faith in Jesus.
Oh, fuck Jesus!
As you can imagine, saying that about Christ at a Christian festival does not play well at all. Everyone gangs up on Cartman, who for once actually seems to suffer the consequences for taking advantage of religious people, as he ends the episode on his hands and knees, unable to even pray to his one-time lover, Jesus.
Fuck you, Eric.
But things don't always come full circle, and sometimes the lessons Cartman learns, well, they empower him in all the wrong ways. And perhaps no group of people have incurred the wrath of Eric Cartman more than Jewish people. And Season 8, Episode 3's The Passion of the Jew brings his hatred to new levels.
You were right. You were right all along. I thought you were just an asshole when you ripped on Jews, but I didn't know. I didn't know.
Self-hating Jew, achievement unlocked. You're playing right into Cartman's stereotypes, Kyle. Come on. The episode starts with the boys playing Star Wars or Roblox or whatever when Cartman begins his typical Jew bashing of Kyle. But this time, Kyle is not putting up with it for even a second.
Shut up about Jews, fat ass. You don't know anything. Oh, God, here we go again. Oh, yeah? I saw Mel Gibson's movie The Passion, and Mel Gibson says in the movie, Jews are the devil.
As time would tell, Mel Gibson says a lot about Jews. He says a lot about all kinds of people. Cartman manages to convince Kyle to go see The Passion, where he's introduced to the world of Mel Gibson, a world that doesn't really paint Jewish people in the best or most accurate light, and Kyle, naturally believing Jews to be decent people, has his worldview shaken up by it.
How could the Jews do that to Jesus?
Pretty brutal, isn't it? Kind of makes you want to change your life, huh?
If only he had went and seen Jesus Christ Superstar instead. They make the whole thing out to be quite festive, but that's not the case. And in this reality, Cartman reveals in Kyle admitting Eric was right about the Jews the whole time. And in a state of gratitude, Cartman dedicates his life to promoting The Passion, a movie most normal people would recognize for what it is.
Dude, that movie sucked. How do they even call that a movie?
Well, according to these guys anyway. Leave it to the 11-year-olds to be the only people in South Park who can see through Melly Mel's shining lights and dangling crosses. Later that night, Kyle has a terrible nightmare where he's all stereotypically Jewish looking and stabbing Jesus. He can really tell The Passion made him guilty to be Jewish, which, who knows, maybe is what Mel Gibson was after. I don't...
Kill Jesus!
Great, Kyle is dreaming in Cartman vision. And speaking of Cartman vision, you gotta admit the boy has a vision, and organizing a Mel Gibson fan club is certainly in line with that vision, as is the rest of his outfit and aesthetic.
Now, we all know why we're here, and I believe we all know what needs to be done.
This is what it's like to be on the internet in modern day, you know? But really, Cartman is all but saying outright he wants to exterminate Jewish people, and all the Mel Gibson fans fall in line, assuming he's talking exclusively about the movie. Trying to track down Mel Gibson to get their money back, Kenny and Stan fly all the way out to Hollywood, where they're greeted by probably the most accurate depiction of a real person South Park has ever had.
And now I'm gonna start my own church. And do you know why? So I can play banjo. Jesus, oh how I love you, Jesus.
Dude, this guy is freaking daft.
Mo refuses to give Stan and Kenny their money back and bounces away, while Kyle, burdened with guilt, visits Father Maxie, who tells him to let go of his Jews killed Jesus guilt and that Christ is all about forgiving. Meanwhile, Cartman is doing this.
Wir müssen die Juden aufhalten. Es ist nicht bereit. Wir müssen die Juden aufhalten. Nice.
Sadly, much like in reality, it's Cartman's world, and we're living in it. And as Cartman's mind games made Kyle so guilt-ridden, he apologizes to a synagogue on behalf of the Jewish people for killing Jesus.
Kyle, what on earth has gotten into you?
I saw The Passion.
That movie again.
Of course, as you can imagine, any reassurance the rabbi is able to give about how it's just a movie is quickly erased by Cartman's footsteps, in the same way Stan and Kenny can't seem to shake Mel Gibson, much like society at large. Finally, everything culminates with this lovely moment.
Oh, my nipples are so tender, don't squeeze them anymore.
That's Mel Gibson?
He's not quite as eloquent as I had pictured.
Yeah, because South Park does a great job depicting him in a good light. And that's how everything ties together. Cartman's movement is undermined by its leader being a weird loser. Kyle doesn't feel guilty because he realizes the Passion was made by a weird loser. And South Park proves that crazy people have crazy bad ideas, and sometimes you just gotta take that at face value. But sometimes, those bad ideas come in a more presentable package. And Season 9, Episode 12's Trapped in the Closet showcases a different religion with some, different celebrity choices.
Nobody has no answers. And so I pull out my gun.
Yeah, they weren't scared of R. Kelly until the gun came out. Simpler times they were. The episode starts off with the boys having a fun day doing the best thing ever, consuming. But Stan, not wanting to spend his hard-earned cash, decides to check out some people giving out free personality tests.
Hello, would you like to take a personality test? It's fun and it's free.
But this is no what ice cream flavor or what Breaking Bad character are you quiz. No, see, Stan has taken a Scientology test, and they aren't exactly concerned with judging his character or being accurate.
I'm afraid that you are completely miserable and totally depressed.
I am? I didn't know that.
Religion. Solving problems you didn't even know you had. Now worried about his own health and well-being, Stan pays the $240 required to make him happy, and in a more real sense, initiates him into Scientology. And if you didn't know what Scientology is, you're in luck, because Matt and Trey break it down in the only way they know how.
Mr. Hubbard discovered that negative emotions are actually caused by things called body thetans.
Really?
Conveniently, the only way to access your thetans is after you've paid. But as it turns out, Stan's thetans are exceptionally high, so high that the Church of Scientology believes he is the reincarnation of its founder, L. Ron Hubbard. And in very South Park fashion, a mob forms welcoming him back.
Thank you for returning. He's wonderful.
It's the poofball hat eliciting these motions, it's gotta be. However, nameless Scientologists aren't the only people eager to meet the reincarnation of their leader, as countless celebs pull up to Marsh's house, the least of which includes...
Don't you understand, Ron? It's me, Tom Cruise.
Sadly, Stan doesn't admire Tom Cruise the way Tom has worked so hard for and locks himself in the closet. Literally this time, not metaphorically. And he's refusing to come out despite everyone's best efforts.
I'm being joined now by famous singer-songwriter R. Kelly. Well, I was just standing here, and Tom Cruise locked himself in the closet.
Yeah, so history lesson. Before he was a demon criminal, he used to do music and hang out in South Park, apparently. But what exactly is Scientology? Why are all these folks going crazy over Stan? Well, thankfully, the South Park writing team have an explanation.
All began 75 million years ago. Back then, there was a galactic federation of planets, which was ruled over by the evil Lord Xenu.
By merely recounting the story of Scientology, much like they did with Mormonism, the guys let the stories and fables' ridiculousness speak for itself. But this time around, it's maybe even more far out there, because, you know, aliens. Why wouldn't it be? They live in outer space.
Frozen alien bodies were loaded onto Xenu's galactic cruisers. which look like DC-8s, except with rocket engines.
Well, at least they aren't flying Spirit. And while the detail's confusing, all you need to know is that we are all alien souls and the coolest one lives in Stan. And Tom Cruise just can't live down the fact that his icon doesn't admire him. Man, such power for one Stan, who takes the responsibility somewhat seriously.
Scientology isn't a cult, Kyle. I've read all this stuff and it's based on fact. Dude, L. Ron Hubbard was a science fiction writer.
But something about the science fiction religion brings out the celebs as John Travolta pops into the metaphorical closet with Tom Cruise, and the episode ends with Stan denouncing the religion as a money-centered scam.
I'm not the reincarnation of L. Ron Hubbard. And Scientology is just a big fat global scam.
All right, tell us how you really feel, Matt and Trey. This obviously did not go over well with the Scientologists, who threatened to sue Stan, which brings the celebs out of the closet, ready for a big old legal battle. Also, yeah, real-life Scientologists were trying to sue South Park after this one, so mark that down as another called it for South Park. And of course, that wasn't the last time a world religion had their eyes on those 4 boys from Colorado, as Season 17, Episode 6's Ginger Cow has all the world religions glancing at South Park, all because of a little Colorado miracle.
Step away. You all know what this means.
Yes, and you know you're about to die.
And before you ask, yes, the cow does have a soul. The episode starts off with Cartman doing typical Cartman things, ribbing on gingers. But this time around, his ribbon is based on some reality. Cartman has uncovered a ginger cow. Well, uncovered with some red paint and an afro wig, but
even the dumbest lie can have big consequences.
Yes, you're right, Cal. I'm sure that is going to have earth-shattering consequences.
And while it may be hard to believe a simple, potentially soulless cow could have any impact on anything, Kyle is right. And you may be surprised to find out that in real life, the red heifer has been prophesized as a sign of the coming of the end times.
発射された電波は月の表面で反射し、日本にこだまれよ。戻ってくるのが受信されたほか、世界各地にも届きます。
Back in South Park, some Israeli rabbis break down exactly why the red cow is so sacred to their people.
It is not just our religion, but Islam and Christianity as well. They all agree on one thing. That the red heifer means the end of times.
Oh, so that's where strawberry milk comes from. Eager to ensure the destiny plays out, the Muslims, Jews, and Christians quickly meet at South Park's nicest convention center to discuss the rules of Armageddon before they realize, hey, they're all peacefully discussing and living together, or coexisting, if you will.
The prophecy says the red heifer signals the end. Could it mean the end of war?
So after thousands of years of cultural and literal bloodshed, the Middle East finds peace in a literal lolcow. But if you know Eric, you know peace is far from the top of his wish list.
Isn't real. Made him up.
No shit.
I totally lied, Cal.
Threatening to tell everyone, leveraging peace in the Middle East, Cartman quickly makes Kyle his, slave, lackey, I don't know, whatever it is. Cartman's got Kyle in the palm of his chubby cheese doodle-dusted hands, forcing Kyle to insult his mom, carry his books, and...
Yummy, yummy, yummy. Can I please have Cartman's farts in my tummy?
Okay, Jesus, lay down on your back, Cal.
Yummy, 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 yummy,
See
yummy,
what I can
yummy,
muster up
yummy,
here.
yummy, yummy,
Let's
yummy.
see. Oh.
Yeah, and Kyle is just happy to take his farts as Cartman is creating them, all because Kyle views himself as some kind of savior of humanity. It's just that he's forced to show it in a really smelly, sulfury way. But it's gotta be worth it, right? And based on what's going on in Israel, it may be even more than worth it. Was it the red cow or Eddie Van Halen's riffs that brought world peace? I know what I'm telling my kids. While Israel is running with the devil, Kyle's depressed as one would be after a week of sucking Cartman's squeakers.
Dude, we've been friends a long time. Can you just tell me why you like Cartman's fart so much?
Stan, of course, is struggling to find out exactly what Kyle enjoys about sucking literal ass, but through it all, Kyle just sees himself as more and more of a savior for his cause, shaving his head and going all Buddhist monk in the name of Cartman's farts. Cart farts.
You gonna come with me to Israel, Cam?
Yes, I will.
You coming?
Yes, whatever you want.
Man, the tree of enlightenment sure has gotten ugly, huh? But Kyle is determined to keep world peace, and back in Israel with all the holy world watching, Stan reveals the truth about the cow's origins, much to smug Kyle's dismay.
I'm not a dick. I'm like Gandhi.
You know, I don't think when Gandhi starved himself, he was all, dude, look how awesome I am for starving. Check me out.
I mean, in the age of social media, I feel like a modern prophet would be kind of braggadocious, but I digress. Stan blows any chance of world peace as he tells the crowd he saw the cow miraculously appear from the sky, which is not what the prophecy foretold.
Prophecy was that a fat boy with a small would one day decorate a cow to look ginger. We should have known a prophecy like this was too impossible to ever come to be.
So in a sense, Cartman is the reason for all the violence and hardship in the Middle East, because of course he is. And that's all we got for today. But if you want to see more times where South Park pushed the line, check out the video on screen now. Have an epic day.